I'm Kiera Morgan. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera, sponsored by The Human Being in Newport and Lincoln City. And today I am here with newly appointed county commissioner, well, fairly new, Walter Chuck. Hi, Walter.
Hi, Kiera. How you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us today. And let's start off. Tell people, for those who don't know you like I do, a little bit about yourself and a little bit of your background.
Sure. So my family and I moved here in August of 2002. My kids went to Mouse Factory Preschool all the way up through high school. My daughter attended some classes up in Lincoln City at the community college to get her EMT license. My son is in the Coast Guard. What brought us here was my wife's job. She works for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. She was the deputy project leader for the Oregon Coast National Wildlife Refuges for almost 20 years. She is up in Tualatin right now, so she is coming back on the weekends, especially now it's nice because it's 90 degrees there and it's 60 degrees here. For the first 12 years or so I was here, I stay-at-home dad, so I did a lot of volunteering with the school. I was on my the board there at Mouse Factory for a little while, helped coach my son's football team, did a lot of backstage for the productions for Newport Ballet with Sean Zander. My daughter was there for 12 years, I think. After that, I became involved in local fisheries things. I'm on the Sport Fish Advisory Committee with ODFW. I've been doing that since 2004, 2005. I still maintain that. Got involved with some of the ocean policy things, the marine sanctuary when that was going to be here. Myself and some other sport fishermen spent many years going up and down the coast for that, and then also the marine reserves issue. Was able to make a lot of good contacts with county commissioners up and down the coast, city councils, even from the NGOs that were supportive of those. Some of those people are some of my best friends now. So it was just one of those things where, everybody getting together and meeting, you get a chance to talk about things, even if you are on kind of different sides of the aisle. There is common ground. So it's been very, very rewarding for me to, meet those people and continuing those friendships. I worked at Bittler Brothers Sporting Goods for about a year.
I remember that place.
Sold lots of binoculars because they were always on sale.
Yep.
And then after that, I started working with superintendent for a few water districts up north, and started doing drinking water treatment. And I did that for 15 years. Also part of that time, I was on the Port Commission. I was appointed to fill Ginny Goblish's position, 2011, and then subsequently was on the Port Commission for 13 and a half years. Enjoyed my time on that, seen a lot of change, seen a lot of things come and go. Once again, very rewarding. Got a chance to work with a lot of members of the Coastal Caucus. Some are still in that now, some are no longer there, but was very glad for that experience. I think having these connections, it has and will continue to help me as county commissioner. I had to leave my position with the water company, so there wouldn't be any conflicts with the water plants and the regulation, and then also any permits that they would be getting for some development improvements on some of the water plants and water infrastructure that they're working on. And so I have been county commissioner since February of 28.
And how's it been going for you so far? I understand you recently graduated college.
Yes. So they have county college. Because of my involvement with OCZMA and with the port, I had a lot of back and forth with AOC members.
And can you explain what the acronyms are?
Sure.
I mean, I know
Yeah,
because I've been
sure.
doing this a long time, but
Okay.
some might not.
Okay, Oregon OCZMA is Oregon Coastal Zone Management Association, and AOC is Association of Oregon Counties. I let them know that I put my name in, and they said, well, if you can get to County College, it starts February 20th. And so came to the meeting on the 19th. I accepted the appointment, and that afternoon I was headed off to Salem for County College. It's basically 5 different classes of 3 days apiece. You learn quite a bit of what the responsibilities as a county commissioner are, what we can and can't do, different departments that we'll be working with, what each one does. We took some field trips to Oregon State Hospital. I went to Marion County's Public Works Department, a couple other things. Basically, as an overview, we had 22 different county commissioners. County commissioners from 22 different counties there, all newly elected or appointed, like myself. We had some county managers. We had some executive assistants who also serve the role as county managers for their counties. We had some OSU extension people, and I think one other, I forget what that person did, but very strong class. What I got the most out of it wasn't just the experience of learning from everybody else. Uh, we had DAs coming in. We had some from the Sheriff's Association. Our Public Works Director came in. Our surveyor came in, and then also our Veteran Service Officer. So you learn what the county does and what the essential services we provide. But I did get to meet 21 other county commissioners, and one of the things that you learn is there's only 3 county commissioners here in Lincoln County and many of the other counties, and because of public meetings laws and things like that, I can't reach out to my other 2 commissioners. What it did is I have 21 other people that I can talk. What we can share information with each other, what we're going through. There's some things that I might be facing that someone else has been facing, and we can talk about that with each other. There was other county commissioners there, giving presentations, and reached out to them. Just nice to have the sounding board and being able to reach out to them and have a sympathetic ear, or you can be their sympathetic ear, because honestly, we all face many of the same issues, and we deal with them different depending on our location throughout the state, and get a better perspective and learn what everybody else is going through.
Now, is that something that's a requirement that every county commissioner needs to go through? I mean, it seems really important, and even refresher courses probably for those who've been, like doing something for a really long time.
It's strongly suggested. It's not mandatory, but it's strongly suggested. It's making as mandatory as possible. I think that would be, you can't do that. Can't tell us, newly elected a person, you need to do this, but it's strongly suggested, and I would.
Now, have Claire and Casey also gone through this college as well?
Yes, I think Commissioner Miller went as a public information officer and as a county commissioner, and what I learned was. In one of my classes was Commissioner Hall she was in the first class. So we have all done that. And there will be ongoing training, through AOC and things like that. One of the things that I did when I first got into my office was we have HR training here, and there's a bunch of other ones for elected officials that we had to go through. So I think I had 18 blocks of training.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, and I from talking to previous county commissioners, that my schedule would be filling up fast. There'd be a lot of requests for my time. And so I basically I didn't lock my door. I just closed my door and I sat there and gritted it out. And I got all my training done in 3 weeks.
That's awesome.
And so that allowed me to be free. And, HR was very impressed. They said, wow, you really dedicated yourself. And I said, well, it was necessary. It was important. There was a lot of things that we have to deal with that, talking to Terry Thompson, that he didn't have to, trainings that he didn't have to go through. Talked with, Representative Cowan. I met with Gene for a little bit and, get a little tips. I have, from having worked with them in the past, but also respecting the job that they've done. I don't feel the need to recreate the wheel. If I can get some information or get some advice from people that have done it or face something, been in the office, I'd have no problem reaching out.
And let's talk a little bit about, you've mentioned that some have county administrators. We're kind of in between that right now. We are in July. What is the timeline for bringing on a county administrator? Have you had some applicants? Can you give us an update?
It's an ongoing process. And what I can say is that one of the things that I bring from the port is I have been involved in hiring general managers, which is the same yes. as a county administrator. And, I just want to make sure that Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Hall, and myself find the best candidate. I said during my interview is that my goal and is to make sure we get the right person in there. If I don't feel that's the right person, I have no problem saying no, I don't think this is a good fit. Yeah, that happened at the port, and we did have to fire one of the general managers, and I saw what that did to the staff there, and we have a much bigger staff here. We have a lot of responsibility, and we need to make sure that the person that we have managing administrating to the needs of the commission, but also to the departments and the other elected officials, is the right person for the job.
Yeah, that's really important. So also some updates. You've recently taken on at the last Board of Commissioners meeting, I believe it was, everybody got a list of different committees and things that they're working on. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing? Well, I will be. I'm going to be asking to do some of the things that Commissioner Jacobson did. One of the, I said in the meeting, I think that having the commissioners assigned to a city probably isn't necessary. I think that all three of us should be able to attend a meeting, whether it's a planning or a work session or even the council meetings. One thing I've learned is they're happy to see us. I think that with COVID, everyone kind of got used to not seeing each other or seeing each other as a tile on a screen. And just the fact that I'm there and I don't feel the need that I need to be on the agenda. I think just showing up and listening. I've learned quite a bit from the inner workings of some of the cities, some of the things they go through. You pick up things after the meetings, you talk with the mayors and, they thank you for being there, but also, hey, what do you think about this? Well, and their constituents are your constituents. Very much so. And I think one of the things I get asked the most when I'm out in the public is says, well, you can do this, you can do that. And one of the things is, yes, you have a lot of authority as a county commissioner, but you are one of three. So, and like I said, when I was interviewing, there will be times when two of them might not agree with me. I'll agree with one and not the other one. And it's all about making the best decisions for the county. And there's, and I'm more than willing to be, proven wrong. And I hope everyone else is too. We don't
we aren't given a crystal ball or a magic wand when we assume the position. That regardless of what you're doing. And yes, everybody is our constituents, and what we can do as far as our roles as a commissioner is more of a collaborator and a convener. I think that working with the other cities and some of the special districts, they're just glad to know that that I'm reaching out to them, and there are some things or issues that I've dealt with, or people that I know that I can bring to the table, and that's all I can do. I can't make anybody do anything, but I can make sure that I can hopefully bring some solutions to the table. I just not one to point my finger and say there's a problem without trying to come up with a solution.
And you were recently very instrumental in moving forward the drought declaration for Lincoln County. Okay. Let's talk about that.
Sure. So Adam Denlinger, he is the Seal Rock Water District Manager. He and I had talked many times at SDAO, Special Districts Association of Oregon, of which water districts and port districts and a bunch of other districts are part of. And we talked water issues. I had some dealings with Steve, who runs the water plants and wastewater treatment plants for Newport. Ted Lapine, who's up in Siletz, I've had workings with him. So it was kind of, I don't want to say it's a collegial thing. But from talking with Adam at our budget meeting, he had said maybe that's something that you would like to be, you might be wanting to be involved with because of, water issues. And I understand that, having worked in the industry for 15 years. And
you're a little familiar.
Yeah. And so, I took that on as Commissioner Jacobson. That was one of her duties. So I was given that. And so it's in it, working with the people on the drought committee. It's an ad hoc committee. It's anybody who wants to be involved. We got some good feedback from the folks I used to work with about what I asked them, what they were seeing. I kind of knew what they were, what we were going through, prior to my being selected to be on the commission, and what we've been seeing as far as water levels rising and lowering the last 15 years. So basically, we gathered as much information. Emergency management was there, and we looked at the drought forecast and saw that we were probably going to be facing some water issues. The other thing, when talking with Adam, he said that we would like to get the meeting started sooner in the year, because in years past, they didn't have the meetings of the drought committee until late July.
I was going to say, it's usually before, it's been like in mid to late August when that drought's been declared. And I appreciate that it was looked at sooner.
And what that does is if the governor declares a drought and we haven't done it, or vice versa, it goes in order. So you don't want to declare one just unilaterally without having a lot of information.
Right.
But you also want to do that because you get priorities of services or any help.
I think Lincoln County was the first or second.
Second, yeah. And so,
Baker first?
I don't know which one with him, but we want to make sure that we thank the governor for addressing that so quickly. So we might have some access to a few things that might not have been available had we waited. And like I said, the whole thing was looking at the river levels. Siletz is already really low.
It's very low,
and it's at mid to late August levels already, which is not good. That could affect the mill at GP. The city of New City.
Lots of people rely on the Siletz River for their water source.
Yes.
I don't know if Seal Rock is still drawing from.
No, Seal Rock is a different source, but I know the city of Newport does that. and that's the other concern is,
Toledo and
yeah.
obviously Gillette.
Mhm. And the mill and the fish processing plants are the largest water users on the Silettes. Right now, we want to make sure that we have the water so the processing plant, fish can be processed, the shrimp can be processed. Just a matter of getting everybody on the same page. And, there were some questions about, does this mean we can have to stop using water? It's just informational only right now. Mid-Coast Water Conservation Consortium, which is basically all the cities in Lincoln County, they're together, and we were able to get some materials that we've been sharing on our website. Emergency management has been sharing them, and the city is starting to do that. And so it's just a matter of information campaign. After our last meeting, there were some members of the public that I went and talked to, and working for the small district, I think one thing that isn't widely known, or it might be widely known, is that a lot of these small places have a water tank, and that water tank is also their fire suppression. And so if we're in a low water year, it does, the water plants still have to run, but you could be watering your lawn with your fire suppression supply too. And like I said, it has nothing to do with being alarmist or anything like it. It's a straight fact that's where the water comes from. And we know we've had an unfortunate incident with fire up in Otis and things like that. We just need to be sure that just because everything's green out there doesn't mean it doesn't burn.
Right. Yeah, I think it was a big misconception with the fires in 2020, and we've certainly seen it along the coast and on the beaches. People make that assumption, well, there's this huge body of water right there.
Yeah.
So it can't burn. Oh, yes, it can.
Yes. Well, in our water supply, we do not have any. It's all comes from groundwater. We don't have a snowpack. We don't have that. We've had some people that have already told us that their wells are at lower levels and they're going dry, and we're going to be working with emergency management. There might be some solutions with that, but it's not. It's not. It's not.
And we're just getting started with summer. It's mid-July, and these warmer temperatures seem to be hanging out until the first part of November at this point.
Yes. Well, and with the early declaration also, Kiera, it allows the agricultural users to apply for emergency water rights sooner. And that process can take anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. And so that was one of the things that we talked about as part of the drought committee, was that if we can get this done a little bit sooner, it allows them to start applying now. Because in the past, if you declare it in the second week of August, it could be the middle of September. We've already had rains by the time that happens. And so
this way they can get it when
they can start applying for it and start the process. Yeah. Especially now that the governor's acknowledged it and declared.
All right. Walter, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's an overused term, drinking from a fire hose. I think it's all about time management and just, being able to make sure that your time is being used wisely. I really enjoyed getting out of the community. I think that's something that we should, all three of us should be doing, is just getting out.
And the commissioners are available.
Yes.
There's been some feedback that, questions aren't getting answered, people aren't getting heard back from. What would you recommend to citizens who have questions that they'd like answered?
Well, that's an interesting question, because there's a lot of things that we can't answer. I've had calls about, someone's putting a fence up, and can I send someone out to do a property line? That's not something that the commissioners really can do. We can point them in the right direction, and things like that. I try and answer as many of my emails as possible. One of us will usually try and answer emails and phone calls. I try to return those. Come to the meetings, but call our offices. Our numbers there on the on our cards in there in the office, and then everything's on the website. And like I said, we try and get back to people as much as we can.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera. We appreciate it. And we are sponsored by Human Bean in Newport at 6th Street and Highway 101, in Lincoln City at the north end of the highway on the west side next to TLC Credit Union. Thank you so much,
Kiera.
Walter, for joining me on this episode. I'm Kiera Morgan.